job in the arts. My name is Daniel Kirby. I am the Programme and Creative Engagement Assistant here at Gulbenkian. And today's event is part of a series of Creative Careers events that Gulbenkian runs. And then today is also National Careers Week. So on the University of Kent campus, there are lots of other employability events that you can check out. And as you're probably aware, we are live streaming today's event. So if there are anyone who's watching this remotely, you can write your questions in the chat, and through the magic of the internet, I'll try and read them out at the end. So we've got a brilliant panel of arts professionals from across Kent today. I'm going to ask them a few questions, and then second half we're going to open up to questions from the audience. So panelists, if you could start by saying your name, your job role, and the organisation you're from.
Hello everyone, I'm Peter Bolton. I am the Chief Executive of Kent Music, which is a music education organisation working across the whole of the county.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Brown. I'm the Business Development Manager for here at the Gulbenkian.
Hi there, my name's Toby Parkin. I'm Head of Visitor Experience and Engagement at Turner Contemporary in Margate.
Hi, I'm Ursi Kalenzi. I'm the Deputy General Manager at the Curzon Cinema here in Canterbury, which is the wider company that's mostly in London, specializing in art house films.
Great. So first question, what kinds of entry-level jobs do you offer in your organisation? And maybe you want to talk a bit about what your organisation does as well.
Okay, so Kent Music's quite a large organisation. Our basic work is that we teach children, young people and some adults to play musical instruments and to sing. We run out-of-school activities in locations all over the county, and we run county-level activities. We also act as what's called the lead partner for the Music Education Hub for Kent, which is a partnership of organisations that get together to help provide music education opportunities for 5 to 18-year-olds around the county. We have about a staff of about 25 to 30 admin management staff. We have an employed staff of about 80 teachers and of musical instruments, and we engage probably about a further 50 to 60 freelancers who tutor on courses and do all sorts of other jobs. As far as entry level is concerned, I mean, there are various ways into our organisation. I mean, we have admin roles in the team, and we do have some quite young people who've recently joined us who are doing things like helping to register our teaching, assisting with the people who maybe run our areas. We have area managers, and they have people working with them to help them with the work that they do. We do have sort of seasonal work as well. So we have a number of people who've come through the system, as it were. They've maybe learnt instruments with us or played in various groups, and they've gone on to do work. Maybe we have a summer school every year that we run. They may help out there. We've got people who have come through some of our projects. So, for example, we have sound engineers who've come through and done sound for various projects that we do as students, but they've gone on sometimes to work with us, sometimes to work with other organisations afterwards. So there are kind of various ways in, and I would say if you're interested in an organisation like ours, then sort of get in touch and talk to us.
Well, I work at the Gulbenkian, so we consist of a theatre, cinema, concert hall, and obviously this cafe space. We have about 20 core staff working within the Gulbenkian, and then we have probably up to about 30 working in the wider department, which is the Institute of Culture and Creative Industries. And then we have about 40 casuals that work with us across various departments. And so we have a range of different entry levels. So we have usher positions, we have cafe bar assistant positions, we have technical casuals, we have box office assistants, and then we also have junior admin roles in a variety of different departments, whether it's marketing, whether it's creative engagement. And then we also run internships and we have work experience. So there's all manner of ways that you can get involved with Gulbenkian.
Yeah, and for museums and galleries, so for Turner Contemporary, we have probably about 50 staff behind the scenes. So in terms of museums and galleries, that's sort of medium size. You know, you've obviously got big national museums and galleries which might have 10 times that, and they might have sort of 500 to well over 1,000 staff. And you have some very small museums and galleries that might only have a couple of staff. But generally the structure between museum, medium size and large museums and galleries is the same. We have quite a few departments, so it's quite kind of multifunctional because of all of the different things we have to do. So we'll have front of house teams, we'll have a retail team, we'll have a finance team, we'll have a admin team, we'll have a development team who'll raise money, we'll have a learning team who'll deliver learning events to schools and communities, and we'll have an exhibitions team who'll put on the exhibitions, quite importantly. So lots of different departments, and all of those departments will probably have an entry-level role. But my tip, the best sort of entry-level role, I would say, and partly because this is the route I took, is to get a front-of-house job in a museum or gallery, because it's a great way in. Quite often with these organisations, we have lots of internal jobs only. So we've got a job out at the moment that's an admin role, but we're only advertising it internally to, and only to the front-of-house team, so that they can do that 2 days a week and then be front-of-house for the other days of the week. So that's my I know it's not top tips yet, but that's my top tip. Front of house is a great way into a museum or gallery, and that's a great, and for us as well, we recruit probably about twice a year on that. So if you see a front of house role, go for it.
And I think I'm going to echo my fellow panelists for what I'm going to say, but I don't know who is familiar with the Curzon as a company rather than just solely a cinema. But as well as exhibiting films, in the venue that I work in, which is the Curzon Canterbury, there are about 14 of them, predominantly in London, but we are also a distribution company as well. So we buy the rights to movies, and we are also the exhibition side of it. So it's kind of a dual aspect to the company itself, and we do focus more on art house and foreign language films ever since the beginning of that company started, which was around 1936 or 4, I can't remember, but that was the main goal of that company, was to introduce the UK, at least initially, and now to carry on an audience for art house and generally independent films. With regards to entry-level positions, I'm going to echo exactly what you said. I started as a front of house member of staff. I have had plenty of colleagues that have started in the Curzon Cinema in Canterbury as front of house, and then because we are a company that hires internally in order for it just to have a kind of vertical way up, and one of my colleagues started as front of house, moved to London as a duty manager in Aldgate, and then found his job programming our streaming service. So it's 100%. If you see a front of house role, it's the same thing with, you just do cafe, ushering, and things like that. And if your company is structured in that way, you will always find internal opportunities.
Brilliant, thank you. So our next question is, what would you be looking for in a potential candidate for all those entry-level jobs?
Ooh. I think I might, can I broaden this out slightly, because I've been around a while, so I've worked in various different organisations. I think my top tip, I mean, I think it was quite a while before I actually applied for a job in the arts. I managed to get jobs by just getting in touch with people. So, I mean, I remember leaving, I went to university and then on to music college, left there knowing I wasn't going to be a professional clarinet player, and was looking for jobs in arts management, and I just contacted people. I just wrote to festivals, I wrote to orchestras and said, can I come and talk to you, or do you have anything that I could do? And that got me a job at the Edinburgh Festival, it got me a job in Edinburgh following that at another festival. It got me, that led to me travelling overseas by ringing up festivals and saying, I've worked at the Edinburgh Festival, any chance of a job, got jobs in America and Australia like that, by pure fluke often. So I think never discount the power of your own initiative. I think it's a competitive world out there, but already just on this panel there's quite a few opportunities. I would say don't wait for jobs to be advertised. Contact organisations and say, I'm here, get some experience, front of house, whatever. But I think people like us are looking for people with initiative. We're looking for people who've got a bit of spark, a bit of get up and go, and want to, really want to make a go of it in this sector. We've certainly seen plenty of people coming through our programs and into work with us, from student to employee. And those people have been the ones that, have really had, they've really sort of worked, they've really sort of shone out. You've seen that they've got something there that you could use. So, don't wait for the phone to ring. Get on to people like me and say, I rang up a few orchestras when I started out and said, can I just come and talk to you? I remember getting an interview with the person who ran the BBC Symphony Orchestra. I had no idea that would be possible, and that was invaluable. He told me lots of things about who to talk to, where to go, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I would say initiative.
Similar to what Peter said. I think it's that we definitely look for somebody that is displaying like a passion for the arts and a willingness to learn. We've had people that have started off as a technical casual who have gone on to be box office managers. We've had box office manager or box office staff that have actually become technicians. We've had cafe bar assistants who've then gone on to do project manager roles within the organisation. I've been at Gulbenkian for nearly 19 years, and I started at a very, very junior office level, but I definitely was willing to learn. I loved everything about like the arts and theatre, and so I was happy to do any part of that. So I did, so obviously I came in as a junior office role, but I wanted to learn the box office. I then did some venue supervision. I took on more of the finance, and just, over time my role has developed. Now I deal with all the venue hires, so get more involved in client relationships and things like that. So my job has been completely varied, but it's because I've put myself out there and have wanted to learn those skills.
Yeah, and I totally echo that as well. I think what we're not looking for is we're not looking for the finished article at all. You definitely don't need to be perfect. You even don't need to have all of the skills that we necessarily ask for on the job application. Attitude is really, really important. So we're looking for someone who wants the job. It might sound basic, but we want someone who's going to show kind of a passion and that they're interested. So a lot of it is about interest, is about attitude, and as you said, willingness to learn is really key. Even if you don't have everything that we're asking for, if you say at interview, I'm willing to learn, I'm really keen, I want to build my skills and experience, that goes a massive way. So I think like attitude, I would class that as character. So I think your character is really important, and that comes through in your application, comes through in interview. And for us as employers, we want people we can trust, and we want people who are honest and straight up and who can communicate well and all of those sort of things. So character is super important. I think we are looking for people who've got some degree of competency as well. That's not to say you have to have tons of experience, but we want someone who can at least turn up on time, just those basic things. We want someone who can present themselves really well. So I might be presenting a low bar, but what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have had a very similar job. You've probably got the experience already that you need to get your first job in the arts. And I think we're going to come on to the top tips in a minute. I keep on going to that question. I'm sorry about that. But one of the things that you have to just sort of really think about is what have you done in your life to date, and how can you apply that to this job? And you've no doubt got that experience already. You've just got to be a little bit creative about how you draw it out. And then, so that's character. These are 3 C's: character, competence, and then chemistry is quite important. And by that I mean most organisations will have values, and so it's quite important that you read those values and then can talk to them as well and sort of align yourself with them. So if those values are values you hold as well, it's probably a good organisation for you to apply to. Say that in your application, say that at an interview. So yeah, so out of those three, though, I'd say I agree with my fellow panelists. Attitude is probably the most important.
I'm not sure there's too much left for me to say. No, I agree with everything. This is basically, we're just ticking off exactly what entry-level jobs require, or it'd be really good for you to have. I would like to add being a team player. Specifically in something like a cinema, you will be working with lots of people, very varied backgrounds, and you have to work together as a unit. And it's really good to show initiative by yourself, but also to work really well within a team and kind of gel together. I think that's a really good plus to have. And then specifically for me, because I think I have to go to specifics, because you guys covered pretty much everything, which is great. A real passion for film, specifically in my organization, because I don't own it, by the way. I just said mine, not of. Because you can come to an entry-level role and not know how to make a coffee. You don't know how to use the till, or you haven't used that particular program or anything like that. That's absolutely fine. That is kind of where their management is there, and your colleagues will be there to train you. That's not an issue. But if you have a genuine passion for film, for example, and you can talk about it, or theater or music, and you want to talk about it and you want to share your passion with your colleagues, I think that goes a real long way, because the other stuff can be taught, but your passion cannot. So if you have it already, then and it can be recognized and you can actually express it, I think it's really great.
Thank you. So as Toby hinted, last question. What are the top tips and hints or advice that you can give people who are applying for entry-level jobs? And Ursi, if you want to start, so we can go this way.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I haven't been favouring you.
So top tips for...
Yeah, for the applications or for interviews. Yeah, it's kind of a broader question, just if there's any advice you have to give.
It's going to sound super cheesy, but be yourself. Don't be what we're expecting you to be based on a job description. Definitely, if you have a favorite musician, favorite music, favorite playwright or filmmaker or anything, just say it, because whatever it is yours, and you love it. And I just want to see that kind of your side whenever there's an interview. You have to come across. Not your requirements. And I'm trying to be yourself. For me, it's always been really important. I have people talking to me about their hobbies whenever we're interviewing and what they do, and you get so much from that information. And you might be a little shy, or you're not, but in an interview process you have the best chance of actually presenting yourself, and any person worth their salt listening to you is going to realize who you are and whether you gel or not with the team or with the company. And whenever you want to do an entry position higher up a little bit, we always look at your experience and your expectations. So will this person do it going into this job? Do they want to progress? So if that's the other thing, is that if you do an interview, say where you see yourself in 5 years, so we know as a company what you would like to do, or where you would like to go.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, I thought I could maybe talk about what happens on our side when you apply, because it might help you understand what the process is. So when you apply for I can talk about my organisation. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but when we put a job description out, we're thinking carefully about what are the skills, what are the experiences we're looking for in a candidate. Off the back of that, what we'll do is me and my team will normally pull out like 4 or 5 things specifically that we're looking for, and they'll be written in the job description. They're not a secret. And when you apply, there'll be a form. And in my organisation, what we do is we redact quite a lot of your information. So we'll take your name out, we'll take where you've been to uni, we'll take out pretty much all of your education, we'll take out where you've worked. So we only see a pretty bare minimum of what you've written, and we'll score you on those questions, on specifically what we're looking for. So for front of house, we'll be looking for have you worked, been in like a visitor-facing role. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a job. That can be volunteering. It could be something you've done in your education. Have you talked about being front-facing at any point? We'll say, we're looking for kind of communication skills, so we'll score you. Have you said anything about communication skills? And it sounds harsh, but everything you say outside of those 4 or 5 things we're looking for, we don't really look at all. So I get quite a lot of applications that aren't really asking for your views on art. And we'll get long essays on, here's what I think about art. We just don't read them. So it's quite harsh, but read the job description really, really carefully, and from that job description what the organisation's looking for. So think about that. And then a really important thing to do, and this has come up more at interview, is think about the experiences that you've had and apply them to the job. So quite often when we're interviewing, I'll get someone who'll say, so the first question you're going to get at an interview for most jobs is, why do you want the job? And that it might be phrased in a different way. It might be, what skills and experience have you got that make you suitable for this role? Is another one that you'll get, but it's the same question. And quite often the answer that we get is, I've been at uni for 3 years and I'm really looking for my next opportunity, and this came up and I just thought it would be a great opportunity. And I don't want to be mean, but that's not a great answer because the question is, why do you want the job? The job. What skills and experience have you got that make you suitable for the role? So talk about the role. Say, okay, I'm looking, I know that you're looking for communication skills. Well, do you know what? I haven't had a job in that, but I worked in a charity shop or something, and I had to deal with people all the time, and I really liked it, and I really like dealing with people, and and I've dealt with lots of difficult people in the past, and that's given me some great experiences, and I think that would make me a perfect candidate for this role, and I'm really excited to do it. That's not a perfect answer, but that's a much better answer. So really think about how you can apply the stuff you've done in your life to that job. And when I said earlier that you will have had the experiences already, you have. You can draw on your school experience. You can draw on if you've ever taken initiative, if you ever put something on yourself. All employers love that because you're showing that that you are passionate. Say you put on your own art show, for instance. That's amazing. If you put on your own art show for us in an art gallery, you can get the majority of jobs because you will have shown initiative. You will have dealt with the public. You will have had to you had to work in a team, so you would have shown team building skills. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for and that are really important. So think about that. I think that's probably all for now. I've probably got other things, but I'll stop.
That's great, thank you.
I think Toby just stole my answer. It sounds like Turner Contemporary have a very similar recruitment setup to the university. So Gulbenkian is obviously part of the university, and the recruitment process is probably the most uncreative process that you can go through. And just the same as we'll have a job description, attached to that will be a person spec, and that person spec is what we score people on. So what you need to do is definitely read through the person spec and make sure that you answer every single element of that person spec. Now, you might not have direct experience, but what you really need to identify is what transferable skills you have, what experiences maybe outside of a work environment that you have that you can evidence that you've done a similar thing. So that would be my key thing for application stage. Just make sure that you tick off all that person spec. As far as coming to the interview, that's where you have a bit more chance to be creative, be yourself and really display what you have to offer. And what I would say, this is my personal preference, but I love it when people bring notes. When they bring a notebook and they reference a notebook, for me that looks like they really want the job, they are invested in the job, and I don't expect people to have to memorize everything. It's not a memory test or anything, so bring your notebook, you can reference it. You can stop the interview, say, hold on a sec, I just need to check something. And that is, for me, definitely is absolutely fine.
So I'd echo that. I think in many job interviews, you'll be way ahead of most people if you answer the questions. Because the number of times I interview a lot of people, you interview people and they go off on some wonderful ramble about, how they love music and it's the most important thing in their life. But actually we're asking them about a specific thing that's in the job description. And I can't overstate the number of times that people just don't answer the questions that you ask them. And A, it's very irritating for people on the panel, but B, it's not going to get you the job. So answer questions, and that goes for the application as well. And I think about the stages of the process. So, you know, if you think about things like, you know, GCSEs are about getting to your A-levels or your whatever you do after that. A-levels might be getting to the next stage. So applying for the job is about getting into the interview room. Okay, that's the thing. It's not about getting the job. It'll get you to the interview, and you need to, as my colleagues here have said, you need to really, really look at that job description. Here, we put time into writing these job descriptions. We think about what's in them. And we have things like essential qualities, desirable qualities. Make sure that you either meet the essential qualities or you can think of something. And as my colleagues have said, you know, voluntary experience, you know, things you might have done at school, things you might have done at university, are really important to us because they show that you've done stuff. And so don't belittle those things that you've done, because they can be really, really important in building up your sort of profile to get you into the interview room. So get into the interview room by, you know, I mean, the number of people who in their personal statements have told us how much they love music, and I love that, that's great, but you know, we need a bit more than that. We need, you know, everybody, hopefully, who's coming to work for us will love music. What you need to show is how you meet the things that we're looking for to do that particular job. Put it on the application. Just go through and, you know, methodically answer what we're looking for. Come up with something that should get you into the interview room. Get into the interview room and then please answer the questions. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in interviews and just listened to people talk for hours about things that are completely unrelated to what we're there to talk about. So do that and you'll probably be fine.
Thank you. I feel like it's coming through that the process isn't trying to trick you. Like it's all there in the application. It's, as you say, it's just answering questions sometimes. Great, so thank you so much. So we're now going to open up to questions from the audience. So if you can flag down our lovely usher, Christina, who's going to bring the microphone to, yes, there at the back, I think. Did you have your hand up? Anyone? Here at the front. And feel free to ask to the whole panel, or if there's, you know, particular panelists you want to ask.
Okay. I don't think this might. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sorry. Yeah. Oh yes. Can you all hear me?
You've got the job as a technician.
Yeah. Hello, panelists. Thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it. In terms of applying for jobs, what if there was like a department that you were interested in, and say I saw something that needed a new job and I wanted to come in and add on a new job and have a conversation with you about it? Like, for example, let's say, oh, you might need a digital marketer and creator. Am I able to have a conversation with you and create a job here through that, for example?
So you're saying that you can almost see something that we need within the that isn't already being advertised?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you can definitely have the conversation. We have lots of different budgets and things like that we have to work towards, so it's not just as easy as just creating a role because there is a need. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that conversation is always to be had.
Yeah.
It makes people think. And yeah, they might not have thought of it already and then think, actually, that is something that we want to try and work towards getting.
Sorry, another thing. If you have multiple skills and interests within the creative arts, and there's multiple job offers that you are all providing, how do you know which one to pick if you're interested in multiple? Do I just apply to multiple, or do I just aim for a specific?
Do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Can I just quickly answer you the other question as well? I really agree with what you said. But the way I would do that, if you think, okay, I've got a job that they would have, I totally agree about the budget thing. So, you know, organisations put jobs out there because they've got the budget for them. So it's not, if you came to Turner Contemporary and said, I think you should have a digital marketer, so we don't have one, I'd say, I agree, but we don't have the money for it. So what I would do if I were you is I would write to the organisation you want to work to and say, can I have a coffee with your head of marketing? And then get a conversation going, find out when the next job is, and then bring that on to the next question. that's your foot in the door, because then you can find out, okay, what kind of jobs have you got? What's the best route in this organisation for me to get to that job I actually want? But then I'd also say, I mean, I think we've probably all taken quite circuitous routes to the jobs we're in at the moment. So it's great to have a job that I want to do this in the future. So for my organisation, lots of people want to be curators, so I want to be a curator. The reality is your first job's not going to be as a curator. What's better is to get a foot in the door, and I would suggest front of house, see how the organisation works, talk to the people who are curators, ask them, what route did you take? Start helping out in that team, and then suddenly you know, a few years later you are a curator. Is generally how it works. So I wouldn't worry too much about I've got a specific thing. I think you were also asking what if
I have multiple skills and interests, and I don't know what to apply.
Yeah, I'd apply for everything. That would be my tactic. I'd just apply for it all and see what you get.
Do they want? Yeah.
I mean, I think the other thing, you know, I think a number of you at university here. I went to university, and my first job involved typing letters for somebody who ran a festival. So you've got to be prepared to, you know, to do sort of what it takes, I think, to move on. So I would agree. I mean, I remember being out of work after my first couple of jobs, and I went to live with my parents who'd just moved to somewhere I didn't know, so I knew nobody. I literally spent 3 months almost every day just writing job applications, writing to people, everything and anything. And I've done lots of different things in my career. I've been a programmer, I've been a tour manager, I've been a funder, I'm in music education, and I think I quite like the fact I've done quite a lot of different things. So I think it's probably quite right. Don't limit yourself. Keep all options open. Apply for everything, you know, and you'll get something.
Thank you.
Did you want to say?
I just wanted to add one thing with what you said about the digital marketing and going when the role doesn't exist. When I started as front of house, I basically just kept, because it was a new building, and I kept finding things that were not done. Like, oh no, we can do this and we can do that. I was the bane of their existence, but I was just constantly going, oh, do you know where we could get our local coffee? My local coffee shop, it's local. Or, oh, I can help you with Facebook and Twitter if you want. And, why don't we distribute flyers everywhere? And the thing is that I did it because I just kept chasing, and eventually they were like, right, okay, you seem to be really good at it. We'll give you the social media aspect of the job. And, or you're really good at food and beverage, so we'll give you that. So it's genuinely within the realms of like respecting hierarchy and everything. I would say definitely, like you said, go to a line manager or general manager and just say, like, I've got this idea. Can we sit down? And this is how I can help you to do this. And then eventually something hopefully just comes up from that.
Thank you.
Brill. Did anyone else have any questions? Yes, there.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how to word this question, but I'm going to just go for it. Let's say after high school or A-level or whatever you're doing, what is the best way, or one of the best ways, or whatever, to get into the acting industry, or like to be an actor?
None of us are actors.
Or just anything to do with drama or media or theatre?
You want to go?
I don't know if music is sort of comparable. I think there are different ways in to all of these things, I think. I mean, there are some bits of, say, the music industry where you need to have built up a lot of skill over quite a long period of time. So having been in, you know, groups and ensembles or bands or whatever will get you in. I think, I guess there is training, you know, so there is acting. I mean, there's no substitute for the basic training of the craft of doing the thing, whether it's, you know, being a musician, being an actor or whatever. So I would say get as much experience as you can when you can with, you know, local theatre companies, amateur theatre companies, you know, university, wherever it might be. But you will probably at some point need to go somewhere to do some training. So I think that's quite important.
I was going to say the other side. We've had a lot of people work at the organisation who are front of house staff, because the flexibility of working front of house means that you can go for auditions, you can go and be an extra and things like that, and then you're also in the environment where there obviously are actors and production companies passing that you can have those conversations with. So definitely that we have people that are wanting to be actors or jobbing actors that are also doing front of house to pay their way, basically.
Okay, thank you. It's a bit of a random question, but...
No, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Hello. I used to work in community arts, and then I taught for quite a few years, and now I'm doing a PhD in community theatre. If I applied for like a entry-level job, would that be discounted, or do you think I was overqualified, or would it go on, what I could offer?
Good question.
I mean, Toby hinted at it, like with the processes, that a lot of that stuff is stripped out, and so what you're looking at is just the answers to the person spec questions. So you're not even aware that you have all that previous experience or skill level and things like that. So
that's reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, we keep certain stuff out of the thing. I'd like to think in the creative sector that it's quite an open-minded sector, and it's looking for, it's looking at the person in front of you, not looking at, other things. And there have been people. I'm trying to think of people now who've come into our organisation from completely different sectors and stayed actually quite a long time. We've got the person who runs our county ensembles team at the moment. She's been with us for 25 years. She came from banking into us. She'd been a violinist at school or something. So I'd like to think it's a sector that's quite open to people, whoever they are, so long as they can do the job that we're looking to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Oh, yep, here.
What would you say would be sort of best ammunition, I suppose, in a sense, to bring to an interview? If that makes sense. Part of the metaphor.
Could you unpack that for us?
What would be the best thing to sort of have, not physically, I suppose, to bring to an interview? What would you say is to sort of prepare you to effectively your cannon fodder? Same metaphor,
Do you kind of mean, I guess, getting into the mindset for the interview,
I suppose, yes,
or what's, I guess, more practical, logistical side of it?
Yeah, a bit practical. So what sort of things would you recommend to do before going to your interview, I suppose, to make sure that you're feeling prepared for it?
research the job and the company, obviously.
I'd like to add to that, because I'd like you sat through many interviews, and I think most good employers will ask you what's called a competency-based question, which is, give me an example of a time you have done ... And that ... is something that's on the job description, so it's not a secret. So in front of house, we'd be saying, give us an example of a time you have dealt with a tricky customer, visitor, whatever. So I would come prepared with some examples, because if you don't have one on the tip of your tongue, it can really trip you up. And then if I can give a bonus thing here, the way to answer any of those competency-based questions, now this isn't perfect, but there's an acronym called STAR, which I think is always quite useful, and you might have heard of it before, where it's where you start with a situation. So you say, okay, I was working in this place, and this person came up to me and they complained about ... And then the T is task. So what did you have to do and such? So this was the situation. So you sort of unpack it a bit more. And then A is action. So what's the action you took? And that action cannot be, I called my manager, just to say that. That will be frowned upon. So what did you practically do? And it can be a small action as well. I took this person aside, I made them feel comfortable, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And then the R is the result. So finish, how was that situation resolved? That person went away really happy. So if you structure your answer like that, that's also a good thing to have in your mind.
I would go through the job description, put yourself in the seat of the person interviewing you, and think of questions that you would ask against all of those things. So, because that's what we do. So we're sitting there with the job description, thinking of questions, and they'll usually, there'll be open questions, so they'll, encourage you to speak, and do that. There's no, that should get you into, and then maybe think of a few other questions that you might get. So, for example, a common one might be, what was the last exhibition you went to? So it might be a good idea to get on down to Turner Contemporary, get to the latest exhibition if you're local and applying for a job there. Do as much as you can to really get yourself inside the organisation. If it is local, go to it. Be really versed in the website. They might ask you questions about that depending on the job. So just be as prepared as you possibly can. But the questions will usually come out of the job description. So you can probably construct 2 or 3 questions for each bit of the job description that may well then come up. So it's not, as somebody said earlier, we're not here to catch you out. We're here to find the best person for the job.
I would also say, if there's any like you said, do your reconnaissance, go to the place that you're applying for 100% before your interview. And also, if the place that you're applying for is a company that has any membership schemes or anything like that, make sure you're aware of them, because it might come up. And with regards to the job description as well, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. Like, the interview is not a one-way street. We're not always asking. Like, at the end of the interview, it's going to be, do you have any questions for us? Do you have any questions about the role that is not particularly clear? Definitely prepare a couple of those, because it will show that you have read it, and that maybe there are some aspects of it that you're not 100% familiar with, and that interest will show.
A great question at the end is to ask the panel if there's anything else they would like you would like to tell them. So it just gives you that extra question just to get a bit more information in that you might have forgotten to say before.
Just a quick one from me. Sorry, we're going for it on this one. The first person you meet when you get to the venue will normally feed back on you as well. I'll just say that. So we'll have someone who'll meet the candidates and we'll say to them what they like coming into the room. So just be aware of that. Be nice to the person who you meet first.
This might be for more senior jobs, but I do things like go through the annual accounts, because even if you can't really read a set of annual accounts, things like the trustees report at the front could tell you quite a lot about what's been going on in the organisation over the past year. Sign up to e-newsletters, get onto their social media, so you're getting feed through from the organisation before you get there.
Brilliant, thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so do your research, make sure you actually understand who it is you're wanting to work for.
Yeah.
And why they're good for you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes.
In terms of all the job roles, are the applications on the website? Do we apply there? How do we actually apply? I don't know where to apply to any of these jobs.
So as far as Gulbenkian concerned, there are 2 places. So you can go to the Gulbenkian website and we list all our vacancies, and then we're also on the University of Kent's job vacancies page. So that would be a list of all the vacancies across campus, and then we would be sitting within there. But yes, you can also go to Gulbenkian's page and access jobs that way.
Thank you.
We're completely online now, so for applications, so everything's done through the recruitment part of our website. So you might want to come along and help us redesign that bit of the website, because it can be slightly difficult to find, but everything's there, and that's where to go and how to apply as well.
Thank you so much.
We will, all of our jobs will be on our website, and we normally advertise through the Arts Council. I think it's called Arts Jobs. There's a website, so all of our jobs will be on there, because it's free to advertise, so it's a good place to look. We sometimes advertise in the Guardian as well, so we won't put an advert in there, but it will be picked up by their job pages. I'm just trying to think, and also I think locally in places as well. Sometimes we advertise through the job centre in Margate, so it's worth looking there as well. Yeah,
and we usually we have the recruitment page on our website, and we usually share it on social, so it's always useful to follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well.
Thank you. Oh, you work with any type of student at the university. They don't have to be a performing arts student, right?
Definitely not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I was going to ask about the website, but I've got like a follow-up on that. So if you're on about like work experience you've had, should you just mention stuff that's creative or just anything? Because I've done some stuff with like NT connections in the Gulbenkian, but would it be worth mentioning like working at a pizzeria or a pier, like, because it's still experience?
Absolutely, yeah. It's any experience that you have, please list it on your at least for my worth, definitely.
I mean, my son's currently studying at the University of Kent. He's got no A levels, so he did 2 years of work experience, some of which was actually doing sound engineering and stuff. He's now doing a marketing degree, and he's now doing a year in industry at Volkswagen. So his path at his young age has been all over the place, and loads of experience that he's got that he might think, well, actually, that's not related to the automotive industry. It's in the creative industries. Actually, they're looking at it and thinking, God, he's really exciting. He's done some sound engineering. So, you know, think of anything that you've done. We will look at that and go, that person's taken initiative. That person's actually, you know, worked through their degree. That's impressive, you know, as well. So there are different ways that different sorts of experience can really help you, because it can show hard work, it can show initiative, it can show, you know, that you've got some get up and go.
Okay, thank you.
Bro, any final questions?
I might as well just get everything out. Say if I got the job right, how would the hours kind of work around a student's schedule? Do we have a conversation, or like how does that work?
I mean, it depends on the role, and it depends on sort of what the type of contract it is as well. But for us, for front of house, what we'll normally do is we'll say we're looking for this number of hours to this number of hours a week. So then most of them will be, well, part-time or full-time. We'll put those jobs all out at the same time. We'll say the minimum we normally get is 18 hours, which is essentially 3 days.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we just say to you, okay, what days are you in uni, and we work it around your schedule.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think it's worth bearing in mind that employers are legally obliged to consider requests for flexible working, and I think they need to do that now from the start date of the employee. It used to be 6 months, so you can request a flexible working pattern from your employer, and they're duty bound to consider it. So if it is if they're saying, you know, that it's a certain number of hours, then you can discuss that and with your employer.
Thank you so much.
I was going to say, we in the Gulbenkian have a number of positions where it's completely flexible as to what you can do. It can change 1 week to the next. So if your schedule is you've got exams 1 week and you can only do a couple of hours, then that's fine. But if you've got another week where you could do like 16 hours, then we can work around that. So that's like our front of house positions, the cafe positions, and things like that. They're all very, very flexible.
Yeah, because when I started doing my front of house job and I had my degree as well, I said to my boss, I can do evenings. I can only do evenings. And she was like, okay, that's fine. And then one day circumstances changed, and I was like, okay, I can do days as well now. So it was, you know, like you said, employers will take into consideration what you're doing besides the job, and your hours will be flexible.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any final questions?
Don't be shy, guys. This is a safe space. We're here to express ourselves. This is the arts.
I was going to say, if you do have any more questions that you don't want to speak in front of the whole audience, I'm sure our panelists will be around a bit afterwards, so you can probably go up to them and ask them as well. And if we don't have any more questions, I think we'll end it there. So a massive thanks to our panelists for coming, and thank you to the audience. Yeah, round of applause. And yeah, check out any of the future Creative Careers events as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.